Hello, everybody, and welcome to Surviving This Together, another Survivor podcast. This week, we're discussing the 10th episode of Season 35, Heroes, Healers, and Hustlers. I'm your host, Brandon.
I'm Levi. And I'm Lori.
No, you're not. You're just Lori. Okay. So, we had to take a break because we don't get paid for this, and there's just a lot going on during Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there is.
But Levi's gone, too, this week because...
We murdered him.
We got rid of him. No, he's just busy. So it's going to be Lori and me.
Busy with the dead from being murdered.
That's right. Do you want to talk anything about Cole's boot episode?
I already forgot. It was pretty... I mean, for being such a big character, I feel like he gave little to the actual game. It's kind of like almost a Patrick type boot, where like he was a big character, but after he left, the game didn't really change aside from numbers slightly adjusting.
Yeah, I think that was an okay episode and, maybe not talk about or get too into. Really the only interesting thing we had was from Mike and his idol play, his weird idol play that still doesn't make very much sense.
Yeah. It leads us into this episode pretty well with... So at that tribal, Mike was just he was trying to be Joe, and he couldn't quite get there, so it was just kind of like cute disruptiveness. It was like disruptive Ryan type of talk.
And I think Chrissy talks about this kind of thing a lot when she's talking about Mike, where he's just kind of off on his own and goes off on these weird tangents, and they're just kind of sick of having him around.
I think they're wrong. I think he's a delight.
I don't know. My stock in Mike went down quite a bit from that episode.
Really?
Even throughout these two episodes.
Yeah, so we start out with Joe being kind of upset at Mike because he's like, yeah, I get that you were trying to get all the votes on you, but being crazy is my job. And I thought that was pretty funny.
I like how self-aware Joe is of himself.
It's surprising. It's very intentional, and it's weird.
Yeah, I actually kind of started to like Joe.
Well, who would have thought episode 1, Joe was like, we gotta get Mike out, and then to his dying day, like, Mike and Joe were buddying down there, the coconuts, apparently, God.
The cocoa nuts, because he's, Dominican?
Yeah.
And Mike is a urologist. I thought that was just hilarious.
It's adorable. This whole comedy bit, though, I love how they were just like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Mike from season 30. Where it's kind of at some point, like, they're like, what are we going to do? You hate us. You want us gone. You have 7-2. Like, we're going to just make your life awkward.
Yeah, I liked this. I wish they could have stuck around a little longer together. It got to the point, though, with Joe and Ben that I was getting a little tired of listening to Joe parade around, even though it was really fun to watch him be back on top for a little bit, or at least where he thought he was back on top.
I'm not sad Joe is gone.
Are you sad JP is gone?
I just realized that was the first episode and that we hadn't mentioned it at all. I mean, he seemed like a good guy, but as far as the Survivor player goes, I think player might be too strong of a word.
Yep, I would agree. I mean, maybe there's something we missed, but it didn't seem like he was playing. It seemed like he was relying on everybody else to play for him.
Well, like, all of these people, it's so strange thinking where we were at the beginning of the season. We have Joe and Mike buddying up. We have Ashley voting out JP, her power couple partner. Like, Chrissy and Ryan are together. Devin and Ben and Lauren, and just everybody's been swapped. Like, everybody's just so different. Some seasons, there'll be, like, 5 or 6 people who you just don't know, even at this point still. There'll be, like, the 3 strong players, and I think this time they've done a better job of establishing, like, an ensemble cast, basically, where aside from JP, like, everybody has, like, a really clear thread of their way through the game.
Totally agree. I think this was by far the best episode of this season. We've got so much from this episode, and everybody's characters really pulled through, especially Ashley, who I've just been, like, dying to see more of, and she's finally starting to, like, get in there and, make some moves with some people. But yeah, I love this new group of 4. These are my 4 favorite people on the island right now.
So let's go, who's the 4? Because I am trying to think of, like, who's with what, and who's Devin's actually working with, and who Ben's being a secret agent to, and it's a lot.
The Ben secret agent thing, that's we'll get into that. But basically, Lauren wins immunity. She picks Devin and Ben and Ashley. And then from there, it's those four.
This was the reward, not the immunity.
Did I say immunity?
Yeah. Jeff throws the ball to Ryan, and he's like, hey, Ryan, Lauren seems to be picking them because they're friendly, or is it because they're in an alliance? And Ryan's like, no, I respect her choice. And it was just kind of like Jeff going like, hey, Ryan, do you want to like shit on Lauren right now, or do you want to like keep it cool? And Ryan's like, I'll keep it cool. It was just like a really weird time for Jeff to throw the ball specifically to Ryan to comment on.
I feel like Jeff's been kind of doing that a lot more, and I'm not into it. You know, he'll like there was at one point where he was talking about how weird Dr. Mike was at the last tribal. I think it was during the immunity. He was like, Dr. Mike, you're probably in trouble because you really went off on a tangent at tribal, and so you're probably next, right? But okay, so during this reward challenge, basically everybody there reveals everybody's secrets, which I think is a pretty awesome idea and a really great way to start an alliance. Just get everything out there that you know, and we're going to move on from there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It gives them all kind of an equal footing and a way to really plan going forward. Like, it's not going to be all of a sudden like Mike had an idol that Joe didn't even know he had, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a good point. Mike and Joe, Joe didn't even realize Mike had an idol. And then Mike just kind of blew it up at that tribal. So yeah, I don't know how those two ever planned to move forward together.
I really think it was kind of a marriage of convenience, especially for Mike. I think Joe was like dedicated to moving forward as a twosome, but I think Mike was kind of just looking for the next boat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, they got the letters. That was cute. They made like instead I was expecting there to be another like immunity idol reward, but how they kind of just brought them out on the plate was really different. But it also made me really miss the auction, which I think this is what would have been in place of the auction. Yeah,
I thought they were all going to start fighting over an idol immediately, just like throwing all their plans out the window or something.
Yeah,
like the second more power comes into play, they're like, you know what, I don't need these other people. That would have been great, but this was better what we got.
I wonder if like the producers had like the idol clue ready to go, and then they're like, oh, they're friends. We'll just here's some family letters, guys.
Yeah, well, I feel like one of the producers at least walked over and like shuffled some of those hamburger buns around so they could actually find it. They had like 20 hamburger buns on there.
Yeah, I think they were really overestimating how much everybody wanted to carbo load.
So really, at this point in the first half of this 2-hour episode, we have a group of 4 and a group of 3 and a group of 2. 9 people left. You have these like voting blocks, you know, and the 4 people pick up these 2 votes to get rid of the 3. And then they can just dispose of the other 2.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole... Yeah, okay, well, like, also I'm really glad this was a 2-part episode, because I feel like if it had just been an episode week, like Cole going home last week, and then JP going home this week, and then carrying on like 1 episode per week sort of thing, I feel like the season would have lost a lot of momentum.
You think so?
I think so. Just like 2 kind of underwhelming, non-affecting, I guess. Because like Mike and Joe were already done working with Cole. So like him leaving did nothing. JP leaving, like it shows like I guess what I don't understand is why JP instead of Chrissy.
Yeah,
not Chrissy, Ryan. Chrissy had immunity is why not Chrissy.
Yeah, either or. I don't understand at all why they would have gotten rid of JP. Other than, the only thing I can think of is if the castaways were like, well, let's get rid of JP because we don't want our season to be boring and we just need him gone because he's boring.
Yeah, aside from like something we're not seeing, because they were saying that he's like a competition threat, and I don't disagree with that, but like if we're going by that parameter, like Lauren is the biggest threat in the game right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's think. Why not get rid of Chrissy or Ryan at this vote? What are the reasons? Ryan has an idol.
Who knows that? Chrissy knows that. Does Devin?
Everybody knows that now, because Ryan went and, remember, I got an idol in my pants?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Oh,
so,
Ryan.
So he has an idol and everybody knows it. Maybe
they were just trying to flush it.
Yeah, but there's no reason he would have ever played it at that
he did,
tribal.
Though.
No, he
or was
played
that the next one?
He played it at the second one.
Okay. Like, my wonder is maybe JP's kind of endearing, and, like, we're not seeing much of his gameplay, but he's not a threat to win. but he's a threat for somebody to take to the finals with them over whoever else. And Ryan and Chrissy, like, nobody wants to take them to the end, so, like, they can get them out. And also Ryan's obviously not a physical threat, so they can get him out when they need to, I guess.
I mean, overall, their plan did come together. They ended up flushing Ryan's idol after he got hyper paranoid, and so now they're left without an idol, and they can vote him out whenever. So hey, it worked.
I just the whole Ryan and Chrissy part too. They're both clearly just so worn out because they're both so smart, and them both being so sure that the seven's going to last until the end. Especially Chrissy, who's I'm not sure if Ryan like. Chrissy's been a lifelong fan, applied over and over again. Like, she knows better than to think that this giant alliance that's so, like, puzzled together is going to last until the end.
Yeah, actually, on that, I thought this tribal council had a lot of really awesome little clips in it about Chrissy and Ryan's cluelessness on this vote. I think Ryan says, if you don't know what's happening, that's when it's happening.
The thing that's getting me is, like, as we mentioned before, the Jeff Probst kind of throwing the ball to Ryan. Like, I'm done with Jeff saying, Ryan, what do you think? And Ryan's like, well, it's like when you go to the rainforest and there's a sloth and you have to move slowly so you don't scare the sloths. So the sloths, like, just stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And is very forced. And then at the end of, like, this very long forced thing, there'll be, like, a very self-deprecating. And, I mean, I don't want to blame Ryan because my impression is that, I mean, just by how Jeff is acting, that production's like, we love this, keep doing it, and really, like, pushing him to do it, maybe? Or, like, kind of feeding him that, like, hey, this is great.
Yeah, I'm sure that's it. I'm sure they picked Ryan as their narrator for the season. But, I mean, I think there's a lot of knowledge that comes out of him.
I thought so at the beginning, but it was like, what was today's? It was like, oh, Survivor's like prom, but I've never been to prom. It was just so unnecessary and so awkward.
Those metaphors I'm not a huge fan of.
And then, like, at the end of every single one, where he's like, but I've never dated anybody, but I've never blah, blah, blah. It's just kind of like, I don't like this Ryan beating up on Ryan narrative that we're getting. It's just...
Yeah, because Ryan seems super confident in himself.
Yeah.
And then to, like, turn around and have this weird stereotype of being, like, totally an awkward nerd is, like, it doesn't seem to fit because I think, okay, so poor JP on his boot episode, I think had one line.
Yeah.
He didn't have a confessional. I forgot that he was on the show.
I did too. Like, there's not much to be said. It's just weird thinking of the power couple thing. It was such a big plot point in, like, episode 2 or whatever, episode 1. Like, this is the boy who had to take off his pants on, like, their first day on the island.
Yeah.
And this is how he gets sent off.
Yeah, that was bizarre. But I think his line in the episode was probably my favorite line that made me think the most just about where Chrissy and Ryan were.
Yeah.
And he said, when you're in this game and you're looking at plan C down the road, you can completely forget about plan A, which feels like what Chrissy and Ryan and obviously JP were doing. They were looking towards Final 7 and they completely forgot basically that there were 2 more votes that needed to happen. And they were just...
you still have to play while it's going on.
Yeah, they were totally complacent and they just let everybody else, like, run around them.
It's nuts how I think people, I mean, especially Chrissy, she's been trying for so long. I think you can go into Survivor with an expectation of what kind of player you'll be and how you react to stuff and what kind of winner you would be when you win and forget about the day-to-day, like the minute-to-minute, and just, like, try to make everything fit what you see your Survivor experience as being.
Well, I remember, like, 2 episodes ago, what I said it would take for me to start rooting for Ryan again and Chrissy is to see them both knock down a peg and have to, like, fight from the bottom and really get shaken a little bit. And so that's kind of where we lead into with the second episode of this night. Except for Ryan's not really shaken at all. He's kind of like...
Yeah.
He is a little bit, but Chrissy is way taking this harder.
Yeah, she's in the hut, whatever... And she's clearly not doing great. And, like, there's a sweet moment between Mike and her where he's, like, offering, like, do you need food? Like, can I sit near you? It's just, like, very nice. I don't know. I really liked how, because, like, Chrissy is so over. It seems like she's just as annoyed by everybody as Lauren is, but being less endearing about it. And so for her and Mike to have this moment where he's caring for her and she's like, yeah, okay. your company would be better than no company, I guess. Like,
Yeah, that was really funny to watch. She's like, "Yeah, you could just come sit right over here." And he's like, "Oh, you actually want me to sit by you?"
yeah.
I didn't actually want to, but
It's like when you're like, "Hey, do you need help carrying that?" They're like, "Yeah, that'd be great." You're like, "Oh, no, I
he's
don't
like,
want to carry."
"No, no, I won't sit by you."
What if he had done that, where he's just like, "Hi, my joke. I am
Just kidding.
coconut," and then he just walks away.
Oh, she would have flipped. She probably would have quit, self-evicted.
She just walks away. Like, she doesn't even do an official quit. She just, like, walks out. She's like, "I'm done."
She
Like,
just
you're on
swims
an
home.
island.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past her at that point.
Can you explain to me the whole... So, it's Devin's idea for Ben to act as a double agent, which I thought was pretty brilliant, because if you suggest, like, "Hey, I'll be a double agent," if I were your alliance member, I'd look at you and be like, "Okay, well, clearly you're just trying to keep all of your options open, but want it to look strategic for us."
Yeah, this
So
is
him saying, like, "Hey,
weird.
Ben, do you want to be a double agent?" Like, gives him the credit for the idea, but then, like, takes that off of him to where he's not doing the dirty work, which, like, Devin, way to go. That's amazing.
So Ben on the last episode was a huge target. He was King
Mhm.
Arthur, and he was really standing out, and his name was getting dropped at Tribal like crazy. And so Ben needs to like be taken out of a power position for him to be safe, and Devin basically just gives that to him. He's basically
Yeah.
saying, "I'm going to let you pretend like you're totally on the outs, so you're just not a target." And he's making Devin and Ashley and Lauren the big, strategic masterminds. And they're basically giving Ben, like, cover.
Yeah.
It's super bizarre, but... So, yeah, I don't know what was really going through Devin's head, did they need to do that?
I think it is, like, kind of like I said, where, like, they can see what's going on the other side and keep, I think, mostly less, I mean, obviously they have the numbers, so less about keeping up with what they're going to do, more so what they have, like, idols and advantages and everything. Because, like, right now, I think Devin's the puppet master right now, which is, but Ben and Lauren think they're in control.
I don't know. It's a lot.
I authentically don't know who actually has the power, to be honest. This is just a, like, shot in the dark.
So I think they needed Joe and Mike's votes.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to do that is if Ben wasn't in the picture, because Joe hates Ben, and Joe would want Ben gone and would not vote with, alongside Ben. So maybe they had to do that to get their votes.
Yeah, I was wondering how the whole scene, I think they were trying really hard to make it really endearing and funny when Ben was acting like, "Hey, Devin, why'd you vote that way? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to." Like,
oh, that was so much fun to watch, though.
as self-aware as Joe is, like, about himself, I think he's just really clueless about everybody else, kind of, and taking them at complete face value. Because it was like, Devin is not a good actor. Ben was selling it pretty well, but Devin's like, "Well, I don't want to talk about it, to be honest." Like, it was not convincing.
Yeah, and then Ashley's face during the whole thing.
Like, it looked like she was, like, biting her tongue, trying not to laugh.
Yeah, and it was just so funny because Joe the entire time was like, "Hey, Ben, how does it feel to be out of the loop?"
Mm-hmm.
That was good. That was really good. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this. We've seen people trying to play both sides, and we've seen people flip-flopping.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've ever seen somebody not vote with their alliance to pretend like they're not with their alliance.
Did we get more mooning this episode?
Yeah, I think Joe mooned the plane.
Okay.
But
we had some in the last episode, so we're going with, like, the whole pantsless theme continuing.
Oh, yeah. That's important to recognize. It's the theme. Next season, Survivor, butts, butts, butts.
We have at some point, Chrissy approaches Lauren, and it kind of reminds me, do you remember when Rourke was getting voted out, and they were kind of like, "You didn't come to talk to me, Rourke," and Rourke's like, "You also didn't talk to me, and you talked to literally everybody else," and, like, it made it, and then it's kind of the same thing here, where, like, Chrissy goes up to Lauren, she's like, "Well, I've always really thought we could be in a final 3 together," and then the confessional with Lauren, she's like, "Yeah, I'm not, she's just annoying, I'm not doing this."
Yeah, I hadn't taken that back to Rourke, but you're totally right. That exact same thing has happened with Chrissy before.
Yeah, it seems like Chrissy's playing so hard that it's obvious to everybody else who she is and isn't talking to, even if she doesn't, like, she was so oblivious here, where she's just like, "Hey, Lauren, don't you totally believe me? And Lauren's like, of course not. Obviously, I don't believe you.
Yeah, and then we have the same thing with Mike and Ryan, where Ryan's like,
Yeah.
Mike, you know I've always wanted to work with you, right? And Mike's like, no, you haven't. And he's straight up to his face like, no, you haven't. I've asked you every day this week. You've never wanted to work with me.
Yeah. A buck late and a dollar short. I also, was it Mike who was saying that? I'm not great at knowing, what are they called? Euphemisms, analogies, similes, metaphors, all of those things.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And even I was like, Mike, I don't think that's a phrase people use.
That was funny. Because it made I sat there thinking about it. I was like, what is that phrase? Maybe it is a buck late and a dollar short. Maybe it's a dollar late and a buck short.
Ryan and Chrissy had it. Like, they had this in the, like, how did they go so wrong?
Well, I think they were just, and I don't want to sound rude, but I think they were just so proud of themselves.
Yeah.
For what they had built. And they really just thought, like, we've built it, it'll last. But things like this need maintained.
Yeah.
And they slipped up for, like, probably not even 5 hours. You know, when you're out there on the island.
Yeah.
Maybe a
like
day.
Chrissy was saying, you have to keep playing when you're sleeping. You have to keep playing while you're going to the bathroom.
Yeah, I think they just stopped playing for a little while.
They were, like, on top of their hill and forgot that they needed to bring dirt onto their hill to keep their hill going to prom.
Yeah, so it's like if you're sledding and there's snow, but it only snows at the top. You're not going to make it all the way down unless you keep building more snow. Okay.
Those were good. This is harder than... I would say that Ryan makes it look easier than it is, but he's not doing well with these, like, comparisons either, so... Well, he's just more confident in his delivery.
Yeah, I mean, the one about prom, what was it? It's like prom. You go with one day and you leave with another. Yeah. That doesn't happen, does it? I don't know. I've never been to prom.
Like, it's just so weird because we see, like you're saying, Chrissy and Ryan, and we're so proud of what they've done. Like, Ryan just seems like such a proud, confident dude. So to, like, see him playing like that, and even in his confessionals, he comes across like that. And I think the other players see him like that. But then, like, at Tribal and stuff, he just, like, plays up that role so much. And it's just so weird.
I was actually thinking about this a little bit. And I was thinking, like, when you go through casting, there's a certain archetype that they want you to kind of be. Yeah. And I wonder if he's not out there. And we see this a lot with Big Brother, where the whole season they have to play up this archetype. And I wonder if Survivor, when they're out there, they think that they still need to play it up, even though it's, like, long gone.
Yeah.
I would think with Survivor, it would be a different story.
Yeah, so maybe he's playing it in, like, a Big Brother way, I guess. I liked the challenges a lot in this episode. We had the one, like, with the foots, where Jeff was trying to say that it was, like, building a foundation or whatever. Jeff Probst, stop. But it was really funny to watch them all, like, picking up the blocks and the flags and stuff with their foots. That was good. I liked that.
I think we saw this one in Cagayan.
Maybe. It's just so silly.
It's a weird one. It would probably take a lot of abs.
Yeah, for sure. You know how some people have, like, toes that they can pick stuff up with? And like,
yes, I do.
Me too. So I was like, man, this would be fine for me. But I know several people who think it's gross. And I'd be like, sucks to be you now who's winning Survivor Challenge. It's cool. We had another challenge. I really liked they had the little triangle that they had to stand on in the water, which would also take a lot of abs. And they got to sit out. And, like, before watching Survivor this seriously, I think it was, like, an automatic don't sit out. That's horrible. But I really don't think that there's a lot of ramifications to sitting out.
The only thing I could think of was that the people who sat out were the ones that had just gone on reward.
Yeah.
And so they may have looked a little too comfortable sitting there.
But, like, at what point is it going to be, like, this deep in the game where they're like, okay, there's 8 people left. You sat out, so you're out. Like, you don't care enough. Like, that's never going to be the determining factor. Like, if it was somebody like Cole, maybe, where this had been, like, an issue, sure. But, like, for Ryan, who was it? It was Ben, Lauren, and Devin, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be the determining factor that they're going to be voted out because of this, A, and B, like, it'll give them enough strength to, like, do better at these challenges.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think it shows more who stays than who sits out.
Yeah. Like, like if Joe had sat out, maybe it would, like if Joe had sat out even, like it would just be more of like, oh, look at Joe, but like he still would have been out, because even when he played, I think in the past I had emphasized the importance of participating in them all, and really, like, I feel like every challenge you do, you're just like breaking yourself down a little bit more, and like this late in the game, you want to like bring your A game. So
yeah, I even said I would sit out for that challenge while I was watching it.
Looking at it, it's a really hard challenge.
Well, I just wanted chocolate at that point.
Well, and I liked it too when Jeff was like, oh, we have food. And this was actually pretty similar to, I think it was in Amazon when Heidi and woman with the brown hair, Jenna flashed for the peanut butter and chocolate. They were also standing on like poles in the water. So I thought it was like a cute little throwback.
How weird that ever happened.
Yeah.
What were they? They flashed Jeff for peanut butter and chocolate? Yep. And then they had to jump.
Yep.
But they didn't just have to jump for peanut butter and chocolate.
Yep.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's icky.
We would never get away with that on today's...
For good reason. It's horrible. Like, you're just, like, processing.
I just now realized how weird that was. Because I remember them getting topless, but I guess I never realized it was for that
I remember
reason.
even as a kid, I was like, well, they're clearly not going to, like, they know they're not going to show their nips on TV. Like, 100%. They're not like, oh, if we do this, everybody sees our nips. It's like these tribe mates who have already seen us naked a billion times, and like the production staff, like, they've all seen it. Like, everybody's seen us naked at this point.
Yeah.
Like, they have nothing to lose. Like, I'd be like, do you want me to take off all of my clothes and, like, eat the peanut butter while naked? Like, what do you need me to do? Because you're not showing any of it on TV. Like, the only people who are going to see this are people who have seen it a million times.
Yeah. I would take my shirt off for peanut butter. So, Ben is really good at acting, and he almost gets voted out because of it? Or do you think they just...
I think Ben's going to be somebody who's on their radar all of the time. Like, I think everybody who's working with Ben especially, like, is looking behind their back to, like, figure out when Devin is playing the better game. But I think that it's one of those things that, like, pretty people don't get taken as seriously sometimes. Because at one point, it was Chrissy and Ryan talking, and I think it was Ryan that said, like, man, how'd we get beat out by two 25-year-old surfers, like, in regards to Devin and Ashley? And, like, they didn't, like, mention Ben in that, where they're like, yeah, of course Ben can, like, overcome us. But they never even thought for a second that Ashley and Devin could, even though they're both clearly very intelligent.
Devin really knows his Survivor. And I'm really happy. I was, like, at the beginning of the season, I really wanted him and Ryan to work together, just because I thought it was such an odd contradiction.
Yeah.
But now that Ryan's in, I don't see him as much of a nerd as I do just, like, a overly confident player. And I'm really happy Devin has kind of, like, stepped away and said, I'm going to play my own game now. He's
agree.
not in my plans.
And how perceptive of him, like, the second that Ben was like, hey, this is what Ryan told me, Devin was like, okay, I'm not his ride or die. I don't need him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love this 4. I was really nervous Ben was going home tonight, but I wonder if that was just like...
I mean, obviously, of the 4, he's going to be the first to go.
Well, he has an idol now that nobody knows about.
Aside, I mean, like, if they get a chance, I guess.
Yeah. What are their chances, do you think, of them making the Final 4 together?
I think it's very good.
Do you think they'll stay together? I think they might.
Yeah, I mean, like, at this point, like, I think Chrissy and Ryan, the chances, like, they really need to, like, those 4, I think, are sticking together. Like, I don't see them favoring keeping, like, Chrissy and Ryan are so backstabby and kind of weaselly that I don't see them wanting to work with them at all. Especially since I feel like all of them, I mean, like, Ben and Chrissy almost work together. Devin and Ryan almost work together. Like, they've all been burned by those 2.
Wait, burned by who too?
Chrissy and Ryan. So, like, they're not going to want to, like, go back to them to try to get out one of the people who, like, they can at least get to Final 4 with.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can see happening is the 4 taking out, say, Mike. Mm-hmm. And then the next vote, they take out Ben. And then the next, kind of a back and forth type thing, where they always have the numbers
who's your win pick right now? Like, if you had to, from this episode, say this person will win, who is it?
I think I'm gonna go. It's so hard because I really like the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of them are playing, but I would say Devin.
Me too. I think he's just so pretty. Like, I think that's really, it's funny because it's usually really detrimental where, you know, like the Malcolms and the Joe Dowdle, so like, you know, they're like, clearly this person's going to win. But I think this season is so, there's so many smart players that like the pretty boy who's also super intelligent, like they're just kind of writing him off as a surfer dude and not really noticing that like, wait a minute, he's had a really big hand in making decisions.
Well, yeah, and I think, I think if Devin gets out, say Ben on the jury will be able to look at Devin and say, yeah, Devin had this brilliant idea of having me as a secret agent. And then Ryan will be able to look at Devin and say, you know what? Devin took the game into his own hands and flipped on me when he should have. I can respect that. We were working together. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything bad that anybody on the jury can say towards Devin.
Yeah. And he hasn't made giant, big moves as Jeff Probst would prefer, I'm sure, but he's made big enough decisions that so many people are aware of that I think he could easily, especially with the new format for the final three, I think he can really plead a strong case.
Yeah, I think you're really close, but I would just add that he's worked a little bit with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been a part of each vote with, everybody at different times.
Yeah. So, all that said, we get to another tribal. I think it was Probst that was like Probst this season, it's so funny, but not. Where like he was trying to feed Devin a line where he's like, isn't Survivor like a whiteboard? You draw on it, and then after you draw on it, you have to wipe it off. And Devin's like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, Devin, I guess so. Yeah, they need to stop with this. What is Survivor like? I mean, we get it.
And then Mike was talking about how Survivor's like surgery. You can have two patients with the same thing, but one dies because different surgeons were working on it. I was like, well, that's gruesome, but sure.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, those weren't the exact words, but yeah, Mike was like comparing it to like different teams of surgeons doing the exact same thing and like the outcome of one being... it was really strange.
I watched the episode twice, and I don't remember that. Did you dream that?
No, I watched it like an hour ago.
Are you sure? I know you think Mike is dreamy.
No, I'm not attracted to Mike in any way. I'd like to make that clear.
Yeah, okay.
They flush Ryan's idol, even though I don't know that they were completely trying to.
No, so who did they all vote for?
Ryan from Mike and Joe, Ashley from Chrissy and Ryan, and then Joe from Lauren, Ashley, Devin, and Ben.
Oh, yeah, so they probably thought... Yeah, so Ryan probably thought all of the votes were either going towards him or Ben. So that's probably why he played it. And I keep saying this, if I ever had an idol, I would want nothing to do with it. Because, like what they're doing with Ryan now, he knows he's just waiting for that to either be flushed or for him to get blindsided.
Don't tell anybody. Don't tell a single freaking person. It's never going to work out to your advantage. Keep it on lockdown and then play it. If you even had, I'd rather, like Mike said, like he didn't want to be the fool going home with an idol. Like, yeah, he kind of wasted it, but I'd much rather waste it than have, like, not played it, Well,
it's like Ben. He found this idol after they made their Final Four pact, so he hasn't revealed to anybody that he has it. Which, it's pretty good that he found it after they revealed everything, so he can come clean later and say, you know what, I found it afterwards, I just kind of wanted to keep it to myself. If we stuck to the plan, I would have never had to use it.
Yeah, like, I don't think they'll hold it against him later for not having told them. I think they'll be like, wow, it's good to know that you had this, I guess. I wish you would have told me, but it's not going to be like, I've been betrayed.
Well, there's no reason right now where he should need it if these people are honest to him. And if they're not honest to him, then they can't be mad at him for not telling him they had an idol.
What if, like, Mike had voted for Joe and just been like, hey, guys, I'm one of you now, right? Like, trying to just, like, force himself into that group. Like, hey guys, it's great we got him out, isn't it?
Wow, way to go. That was the plan the whole time.
Good job, guys. He's just like high-fiving like near them, and they're just like standing there.
You're right, though. Everybody totally voted with their tribal lines. It was Mike and Joe together, Chrissy and Ryan together, and then the
Do
four
you
together.
think this is just Survivor trying to get back at the whole voting block things, where they're like, no, we're Survivor, we have alliances, not voting blocks?
Yeah, probably. I like voting blocks. I think it puts things into a much better perspective.
A lot smarter, because if you're an alliance, you trust those people, but it's got a very short expiration. Like, it has a very short shelf life.
Yeah, I like the idea that Ryan and Chrissy, let me change that. I like the idea that Joe and Mike were a voting block where people could pick them up.
And like Mike was like, Joe, who's Joe? Like, if it helped him at all, he would have.
Yeah. Okay. So we got some Facebook corners. You know, this whole Facebook thing, they're really starting to like the season, but they still think everybody on there is an idiot. And so it's kind of getting harder to dig through because, like, basically I'll just read, like, what most of them were. And it was, like, how stupid that they got rid of JP instead of somebody more important.
Yeah, like, less hot take, more like, yeah, you guys are right. That's not as funny.
It's a lot of hate, and I don't like it. It's like, people are like, I hate Chrissy. I hate Ryan.
I've been noticing that on the subreddit a lot, too. Like, people's takes on Ryan. Or even, so JP, I guess, is currently, he's a firefighter, but he's also going to school to be a paramedic. And so I guess he didn't do exit press, which is bizarre because, you know, you block out the day. And it's kind of annoying, but to be like, he just doesn't respect this show. Be like, guys, he has a real life. He's taken off like however much time from his life to do this. Yes, it'd be great. It's kind of like when Vetus didn't show up for the, you know, like after he got voted out first, he's like, well, I have a kid. Like, I'm going to go home now. Like, it sucks. At the same time, it's like, okay, these people have lives. Like,
they're real people. Yeah. So, Facebook.
Reddit
you need to calm down.
But I don't want to get Reddit angry.
Reddit.
Come at us.
Who cares? Reddit. Like, be nice to people. Like, be nice. Come at us.
With niceness.
Come at us with really nice things. Like nice words.
Use your soft words.
Oh, jeez. I dread the day. So anyway, I wanted to start off Facebook Corner with a positive note. And Sandy says, I think last night was the best Survivor I have seen in quite a while. This season has so many good players, and they all think they are running the show. It is so entertaining.
That's nice. Can we just have, like, a nice Facebook Corner today? I mean, you've already, like, prepared, but...
Yeah, no, like, this person says, maybe I'm in the minority, but I still enjoy Chrissy being there. Yes, she got overconfident and showed her cards early, but she's been playing the game, and her going from being a target on day one to being on the top of an alliance to being back on the bottom and then winning immunity challenge when she needed it, it has been fun to watch.
I feel like Chrissy built the game up too much, and it's hurting her a lot. I feel like she would be somebody who could potentially do well from a second chance.
I
get some step back and realize that, like, because, I mean, she's super smart. I think if she got a chance to, like, look at how she played and where she went wrong, she'd come back in and kind of do, like, a Chaos Cast second chance sort of deal where...
Well, but, you know, we don't know that she's gone totally wrong.
It's true.
We don't know how the season ends yet. And, I mean, I like this comment because it's totally true. She was, like, probably most people's first boot, or a lot of people's first boot, or low at least. And then she rises to power.
She's like
drops
a fox,
to the bottom.
A phoenix.
Wins at immunity. A phoenix. Yeah, that's pretty great.
What else?
Let me see. I'm trying to not be negative. Oh, this person says the only one right now I see winning is Lauren.
I don't want to give up what I found to be amusing Dr. Mike fixation, but I don't want to say that there's no chance he's going to win.
I don't think there is a chance that he's going to win.
I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to imply it.
Yeah, it's too bad, but I think that it just totally got away from him.
I don't think that it just seems like he's enjoying every morsel of Survivor that he's getting, where he's just like, my kids are going to think this is great. Like, he's having a blast.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that I like about this season is everybody seems to be really taking advantage of their time out there. Everybody, every last one, even Joe, except for maybe JP.
I mean,
but I don't know
JP was
that.
like probably the type of dude where he's like, I want to go on an adventure.
And then when he got there, maybe he was
I think he had his adventure. It didn't seem like he was like, I don't quite recall his pregame stuff, but like I don't I feel like he's kind of like the Aussie of this season, where he's like, yeah, they asked if I wanted to go to Fiji for a month, and like, duh, so I went. Like, so he got to go to Fiji, and he got that experience.
Oh, this person says, you know who will get totally screwed? Lauren. She set this game in motion, and Ashley and Devin will screw her. They will take Mike to the end. Yeah.
There was one point where Ashley was swimming and Jeff was like, it's obvious that she does this for a living. And when he said that, I thought of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, where Harry had to save all the people from the mer people, and he ended up saving, like, everybody. And they're like, you idiot, it was a game. You only had to, like, just Ashley, like, swimming and trying to, like, save everybody, even though they're not drowning.
It's so cool that she's, like, a super legit lifeguard, too. I don't know.
I like everybody.
Who do you like the least?
I mean,
left? Not personally.
As a game playing, Ryan or Chrissy. I think it's something that I kind of foresaw happening with Chrissy, where it seems like she was so dead set. Like, she's in a male-dominated field, so she's used to having to kind of, you know, men would have to do like 70% to be seen as like amazing, and she has to go that extra mile to be like even with them, just to like prove herself is not the same but better. And I think that she took that attitude into Survivor, and that she was so determined to prove herself that she didn't stop to realize that she doesn't need to. And so I think just she has so much potential, but she's trying so hard to prove herself that she's lost sight.
I think also with that same note is that she's been applying for 16 years, so she has 16 years to prove. To say, I've been trying to get this for 16 years, and I need to win, so that it wasn't all for, like,
I don't remember how old she is, but can you imagine, like, a 20-something-year-old Chrissy playing this game?
No. I can't imagine that at all. That would have been cool. Thanks, everyone, for listening to this episode of We're Surviving This Together. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at survivingthistogether@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at survivingtogether, and on Facebook. If you liked what you heard here, please leave a review. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.